All right, so I'm not going to do the kirtan. I'm in a bit of a kirtan mood, but I want to do this class. We'll see how it goes. So, Om Nama Sreshtham Manumapi Shachi Putram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupurim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Prasita Kripaya Sri Guru Tanatosmi Nindantang fulakotkarena vikasat nipa prasuna chavim Prodvikritya bhujadvayam hari hari tuchayvadantam muhu Nritantam galadasrunirjarachayai sinchantamurvitalam Gayantam nijapashadaih parivritam Tam gorachandram stumaham Alibhi paripalitak pravalitak sanandamalokitah Pratyasam sumanah falodaya vido samodamamuditah Vrindaranya bhuvi prakasha madhura Tarvati Shai Sriya Radha Madhavayo Pramodayatu Mam Ulalasa Kalpadrumah Jaya Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Echai Gosaya Kori Charana Vandan Jahavaite Vignana Shabista Puran Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Radhe. So that's a bit of a long preamble. I don't know what this, from here, I can't tell what this visual is like on this thing. So, in keeping with our low technique, our low tech quality, we'll just continue on here. It's a very short, I have a very unambitious day today. Right? We've completed, thank God, to be quite honest, we've been done with it. But I learned a few things from that previous section. All that stuff, all those different verses, difficult verses about Brahma, Darshanam and things like this, and the Jiva Goswami's way of interpreting them, and how he uses them to demonstrate certain things, the least expected things. Like when it says one becomes Brahman, well, that means he wasn't Brahman before. So what is this that he's become Brahman? There's a problem with that. The becoming part is the problem. So, because you can say that the jiva, it's a false designation, he just has to remove it. There's really nothing to do, right? But that doesn't count. It's still going from one state to another, one state of consciousness to another. There is a change that took place in the eternal Brahman. So now how do you explain that, right? Those are the problems with the Kevaladvaita theory. At any rate, let's say, thank goodness we're done with it, that, hearing about this one entity that one simply becomes absorbed in, this one universal truth. And yet, Jiva Goswami showed how in each of those cases, there was something that was to be learned about bhakti in that circumstance. Right? So to say that the ingredients used in worshipping Krishna, that those are not material, they're not perishable. Right? We mustn't misunderstand that. We mustn't misunderstand what is the problem with separation and what is the problem with too much proximity. What's going on with all these different suggestions that were made? Anyway, I don't think I've still got it quite down properly, but I did find it was a good summary probably. I've completely forgotten my Bhagavat Sandarbha and Paramatma Sandarbha. And really the only honest thing to do would be go back and read those before I complete the editing on these first few anuchets. But let's move on. We have a verse finally that is something that has some lila in it. Something that will touch a devotee's heart. Finally we're getting something, right? So here he says that we're not all the time now in this philosophical world of splitting hairs about Brahman and Paramatman and Bhagavan. And the jiva, and how the jiva is a separate entity and so on. So we have something different here. So Atha Sri Bhagavat-sakshatkarasya muktitvam aha. So now he's in another. So now we've been talking about mukti. So it was Brahma or the tattva-sakshatkara that was the mukti. Right? One has to have the proper attitude, of course. And that will come up in the next one of the next anuchets. But the goal is to actually be in the presence of Krishna, because that's the way that you can receive His fullest mercy. So that hankering to be in the presence of God, that is what we strive for, right? So to be in the presence of God. Of course, the presence of God, God is always present. But to feel yourself to be in the presence of God, to be conscious of being in the presence of God, that's something different. All right, so at any rate, here he says, Bhagavat-sakshatkarasya muktitvam aha. So what he's stressing here is that we've been talking about liberation. So that's what our subject has been, basically. He's talking about liberation and discussing liberation in the context of the Purushartha and the Paramartha, right? So now we know that mukti now has been somehow made simultaneous with something more. It's the tattva-sakshatkara, but that includes two different branches. One is the Brahma-sakshatkara and one is the Bhagavat-sakshatkara. So of these two, he will go on to say that the Bhagavat-sakshatkara is superior. He doesn't hesitate to say it, right? But here for the time being, he's just saying that according to the definitions so far that have been given of mukti, and there have been several of them, that Bhagavan himself is identified with that mukti, or at least being in his presence, or actually seeing him directly, that is liberation. So, what does he say? Nice verse. So now this verse is kind of interesting. It comes from where? It's Prahlad. It's Prahlad speaking to the demon children, to his students. They're all demons. And remember, the demons, they are a separate race. They're a separate race. They're not human beings, right? They're that's the extent to which they are excluded, right? But it says that Prahlad spoke to them as if they were human beings. Very interesting what we can take out of that. At any rate, he spoke to the demons as though they were human beings. They were only children after all. And they were malleable, let's say. And the point is that what were they learning? They were learning all kinds of stuff that Brahmins generally learn, right? The Nyaya and so on. Right. So, this is the verse. Tato vidurat parihatya daitya daityeshu sangam vishayatmakeshu upeta narayanam adidevam samukta sangar ishito pavarga. So, now this is where it comes Tato. So this is coming near the end. This is verse 18. So there's 28 verses in the chapter. And it starts with the famous Komara Acharit Pragyo Dharman Bhagavataniha Durlabham Manusham Janma Tadapyarthadam Tatapyarthadam Anishchayam. What is that? Anyway, I forgot it, of course. All right. So anyway, saying that Komara Acharit Pragyo, this human form of life is short. It gives you a great opportunity to realize something transcendental, to realize something special, to put an end to the eternal miseries that are present in this world. And you have a chance to realize your true identity as a servant of God. So, why waste time? Right? Don't waste time. You don't know. This body could die at any minute. Don't lose time. Get down to it right now. You say we're just children. It does not question what's a children. If you wait until you're old, it's not going to do you any good. You'll be old. You will have developed all kinds of bad habits, and you'll just be sitting there in your chair staring at the television. Something like that, right? So, he says here to the Daityas, so he goes on and explains this first verse for a long period of time. And after he comes to the end of it, he says this verse. So the verse before it is kind of important, but we'll just do the verse by itself first to get at what Jiva Goswami wants to derive from it. Satato vidurat parihritya daitya daityeshu sangam vishayatmakeshu upeta narayanam adidevam samukta sangarishito pavarga. So, O Daityas, O children of the Daityas, you must give up from afar. This is a common way of saying that you throw it a distance. Vidurat parihritya. Duram, keep it far away. Right? So toss away what? Toss away the sangam, the association with whom? Okay, Sanskrit buffs. Yeah, this is a Saptami Vibhakti Bahuvachanam. So the Sangam is taking unusually the Saptami Vibhakti. You don't usually see that. You usually see Titiya Vibhakti. All right? But that's the way these guys do it, right? So Tato Vidurat Parihritya Daitya Daityeshu Sangam Vishayatmakeshu So why should you give up the association of the Daityas? Well, because they are Vishayatmaka. They're absorbed in materialism. They're absorbed in material subject matters. They're absorbed in the Vishaya. They're in the sense objects. They haven't transcended their attachment to the sense objects. And so they're in a state of ignorance, and a state of where they're governed by their instincts and by their desires. They haven't reached true, authentic selfhood. Right. So here, upeta, so the instruction, that's the imperative. You guys, you go take shelter. That's upeta means to take shelter here. Go up to Narayanam, Adidevam, to the original God, Narayanam. He who is desired by the liberated souls as their liberation, as their apavarga. All right, let's see if we have a translation here. So now, after describing Brahman realization as mukti, the realization of Bhagavan as mukti is being described. So Sri Prahlad said, therefore, O Daityas, shunning away the company of the Daityas from afar, who have set their minds on the objects of the senses, take shelter of Bhagavan Narayana, the prime deity. He is the liberation desired by those who have become free from all attachment. Tika cha. So yasmat sa evapa varga ishtaha. So there he's putting it, so yasmat. Why should you take shelter of Narayana? So it's giving the reason. That's because. So because he alone is the liberation. Because he alone is the liberation sought after. I.e., they take shelter of him. Take shelter of him for that reason. All right, so now that's what so that's the important thing. So apavarga here means liberation. So Narayana is liberation. That's the point he's making. But he has a little something to add to that. He says, atra Narayanasya apavargatvam tat sakshatkritau eva paryavasyati. Right? So paryavasyati is the same thing. It says that, when you're saying that one thing is as good as another, right? 2 times 2 is 4, so either one or the other, right? One becomes the other. It's just something like that. For all intents, we say things like, for all intents and purposes are the same, like something like that. So anyway, he says that the Narayana being the apavarga means that one has encountered him, has had sakshatkara of him. So that's what the paryavasyati, it's as good as saying. So to say Narayan is as good as saying having sakshatkara. So that's the point he's trying to make, that this is sakshatkara that's being spoken of. Why is that? Because tasya eva samsara dvangsa purvaka paramananda prapti rupatvat tad astitva matratve tadrishatva bhavat cha. Okay, a long reason there, but the basic idea is that tad astitva matra tve. So if it's only his astitva, if it's only his existence that matters, and not the relationship. So the whole point, he's going to make this in one of the next anucheds. It'll be a long business there to discuss about people who see Krishna or behave badly with Krishna and so on like that, how they can have, what's the nature of their relationship in these particular cases. So we won't worry about that too much here. But at any rate, it says that tadastitva matra, this is what we were saying about Brahma bhava, right? But also, if there's no relationship established, as soon as Krishna becomes Bhagavan, then a relation is established with him, right? If it's Brahman, then there's no relationship there. That's the whole point. You just kind of you identify yourself with Brahman. But here he's saying that those who are really free from all attachments, that they are going to want to see Bhagavan. not just to have him exist, right? If he exists, we had that before also. That just if it was just his existence, then everybody would be liberated. There would be no difference between the different people. So ye yatha mam prapadyante. Every individual approaches God according to their own style and according to their own strength or commitment. So tasya eva, that sangsara dhvangsa purvaka paramananda prapti rupatvat. Tadastitva matratve tadrishatva bhavatcha. So he's saying that so what is it? Sangsara dhvangsa purvaka. Somebody's making some terrible noises out there. I'll tell you. Okay. I hope those don't come on the microphone. Right, so tasya eva sangsara dhvangsa purvaka paramananda prapti rupatvat. So what is the nature of this mukti? What is the nature of this apavarga? Well, the apavarga is the sangsara dhvangsa purvaka, preceded by the destruction of one's sangsara, of one's material identities and so on, the coverings over the pure consciousness, and then paramananda prapti, and then attain the paramananda, right, are two things, dukkha nivritti and sukha prapti. Atyantika dukkha nivritti and atyantika sukha prapti. That's what our subject is. Right? So here he's saying that is what we've defined as Bhagavat-sakshatkara. So sangsara dhvangsa purvaka paramananda prapti rupatvat. Right? So this is such a kind of attainment of joy, of bliss, that it would not be achieved, tadrishatva bhavat, it would not be achieved only through the existence. Without that, if it didn't have that connection, that paramananda rupatvat, you won't get that just by having existence. That's the point. So Swami also comments that because he alone is the liberation sought after, therefore take shelter of him. Here, Narayan as liberation happens only when one realizes him directly, because only that liberation is the attainment of supreme bliss after destroying material bondage. So that's the liberation they're talking about. Such a liberation is not possible because of his mere existence. So his mere existence, everybody would be free. If it was just his mere existence, then there would be no need for sadhana. There would no be need for any kind of religious life, right? So that's the point he's making here. He wants to say that Krishna or Bhagavan is liberation, and then he wants to understand further what that liberation is, clarifying what he means by that liberation. So let's see. So Babaji says the following. So to conclude this discussion, Sri Jiva Goswami cites the teachings of Prahlad, in which the latter advises the Daitya children to take shelter of Bhagavan. He says that taking shelter of Bhagavan is the true meaning of mukti, ishito pavargaha. This also implies that Prahlad did not accept Brahma-sakshatkara as the Purushartha. So that's also in the next Anuched, Jiva Goswami cites Dhruva, who also accepts Bhagavat-sakshatkara as the Purushartha. So what is that? I think we have, I think we were going to do the next verse also. But before doing that, I had the kind of inspiration here to look at the verses and the commentaries of the 7th canto, 6th chapter, to try to get a better understanding of how this verse fits in. So it is quite late I don't think we could do all the verses. It would take a little bit of time. Let's just see. We got to get to verse 20 and 21 and 22. We've got to see what comes after that also. It's very interesting, actually. So, Sri Prahlada Uvacha Komara Acharit Pragyo Dharman Bhagavataniha Durlabham Manusham Janma Tadapya Dhruvamatadham. So Durlabham, I made a botch of the verse when I recited it first time. Komara acharit pragyo dharman bhagavataniha durlabham manusham janma tadapya dhruvamartadam. So three things he says about manusya janma. You have a human body. All right, so what's the human body for? It says it's, first of all, it's very rare, durlabham. Second of all, it's adhruvam. You don't know how long it's going to last. Could finish today. Arthadam, but it gives great value. So I'll just skip a bit of it. So, Kaumara ityadina is a Sridhar. Ihaiva manusha janmani dharman acharet. So here in this world, while you're in the human body, you should take up the dharma, the practice of Bhagavata dharma. Yato arthadam etat, because this birth is most valuable. Kaumara eva yatastadapya dhruvam, and start from the very beginning when you're still a child, because it's not certain. Even the children sometimes die. So it's adhruvam. And nachaivam bhutam janmantaram yato durlabham. And you don't know for sure that in your next life you're going to get the same thing. Your janmantara might not be the same. Aivam bhutam. So because it's durlabha. So tatra dharmani vacharet nasukarte prayasan. So you should engage in these dharmas and not simply engage in seeking pleasures in the world. Tatra bhagavatan eva nakamyan. And also these activities should be services to Bhagavan. And now here's Jiva Goswami, Priti Sandarbha. I think this is from Bhakti Sandarbha. It's the same as in Bhakti Sandarbha, but there's a couple of extra verses. So, Bhagavatan dharman acharet yato arthadam etad janma. So, engage in these activities of dharma now, right away, because this human body, this human birth is very valuable. It has the potential to award you great gifts. So, Devadi janmani maha vishayaveshat. So, in the Devata position, in the higher position, say you're a millionaire, say you're like Jeff Bezos with $1 trillion, right? You're a god, right? So, but you're also Mahavishaya Vesha. You have to cover yourself, you have to have bodyguards, you have to have, super secure houses and travel, and it's madness. The more money you have, the more that you're afraid they'll take it away from you. That someone will be envious and decide to shoot you. Yes. It's a wonderful life. So he says, Devadi Janmani Mahavishayat Aveshatvat. They're really caught up in all the sense gratification. Fashwadi Janmani Viveka Bhavacha. And if you take a lower birth, well, that's, then you just won't have the intelligence. You won't have the discrimination. You won't be able to understand anything. So how are you going to make any spiritual progress in the body of an animal? So tatrapi na vilambena ityaha komare. So don't delay, don't waste any time. Right? He says, komare. You take in this childhood, in the first 5 years of your life. Komaram arabhya ityataha. In other words, beginning from your childhood, right? From 5 years. Yata astadapi janma dhruvam punar durlabham cha. So he says that it's dhruvam. Well, he says he reads it differently. He doesn't read it as adhruvam. He says dhruvam, but you have to check that. It is, well, it's adhruvam as far as I'm concerned. So it's uncertain and it's very rare. So tatacha brahma vaivarte prapya pidurlabhataram manusham vibhudepsitam yairasrito na govindastairatma vanchitaschiram ashitim chatuраschaiva lakshastan jiva jatishu Brahmadvi Purushaih Prapyam Manusyam Janma Paryayat Tadapya Phalatam Jatam Tesham Atma Vimaninam Varakana Manasritya Govinda Charanadvayam. Okay. So that's that. If you attain this very, very difficult to attain human form of life, this most rare human form of life, which is desired even by the gods, because they, in their position, they can't take proper shelter of Govinda, and so they've cheated themselves forever by being gods. They can't do it. Ashitim chaturashchaiva lakshang sthana jiva jatishu brahmadvih purushaiha prapyam manusyam janma paryayat. So there are 84 lakhs, 8,400,000 species. It's a number, right? Very large number. 8.4 million species, right? So you can try and figure it out if you want. They say that there's probably millions, trillions of different species. Depends how you cut the size down, right? What your definition is, how you differentiate. Usually they said they can't intermingle. They can't interreproduce. That's the basic sign of a different species. So anyway, 8.4 million species. It doesn't really matter if that's the exact number or not. So Brahmadvih Purushaih Prapyam, so the Purusha, the spirit souls, the Atmas that are wandering through all these different bodies of life, right? Through all these pretty bodies, they get a human form of life, they get the human body. It comes in a particular order. You have to wait, you have to go through the evolutionary process of going through all these different species to experience their. It's like the story of King Arthur. What was it? The famous one that was made into a film, a cartoon, right? Where the young King Arthur is given the power by Merlin to experience different animals from the inside. He can experience what it's like to be a bird and fly and so on. So that's the idea. That actually, after going through 8,400,000 species of life, one finally comes into the human form of life. So it's Durlabam. Durlabam Manusha Janma Paya Samsari. Right? Many songs like that. Bhajaure Mana Sri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindari Durlabha Manava Janama Satsange Durlabha Manava Janama Satsange Taraha Evava Sindhuri Taraha Evava Sindhuri. So, this is the Manusya Janma is finally achieved. So then, Tadapya Afalatam Jatam Tesham Atma Bhimaninam Varakana Manasitya Govinda Charanadvayam. So even though this is such a glorious thing, this human form of life, still there are some foolish people, Varakanam, unfortunate people, who do not take shelter of Govinda's lotus feet. They are too full of themselves, Atma Bhimaninam. And so they waste this form of life, this glorious human form of life. So many verses which glorify the human form of life. We won't get into that any further here. But he goes on here. So what is Jiva Goswami quotes up? He says that Shastrasya pradhanyena manusyam adhikritya pravartatvat tad anuvadena uktir iyam tad buddhyadi samanyena manusyatvam aropya eveti gyayam. So primarily here, it is the bhakti is taught to human beings. Even though there are other places it talks about animals and so on. But tad anuvadenoktir iyam, the idea was purusha, manushya. So it's just being repeated in that way, as a different way of saying it, that having taken a human form of life. Iyam tad buddhyadi samanyena. So he's saying that this is just as a general thing, saying about the intelligence that human beings have, and it is applying that to them. In other words, it's applying this human characteristic of intelligence. So if it applies to an animal, that's okay too. But basically, here in this particular case, these are daityas, right? So these daityas are not really human beings, but humanity is being superimposed on them, aropya. So we talked about aropa before. Here's a good example of how it's used, right? So they're not human beings because of their materialistic nature, but in order to teach them, you understand them to be human beings. You believe in their humanity, because if you don't believe in their humanity, then your words will have no meaning. So if you're going to bother at all to say anything, well, then you have to understand their humanity. Even if their behavior, even if their entire way of being is completely asuric. They're daityas. They're not the friends of the good people. So Priti Sandarbha says the same thing. Basically, I won't repeat it, because he just has those extra verses that were the extra verses from the where was it again? From the Brahma-sakshatkara Purana. Brahma-sakshatkara Purana, when you see that in the Sandarbhas, that means Madhvacharya. So Vishwanath says, Shashte tu grahayamasa prahlado bhakti marvakam asaktim deha gehado vyajayamasa bodhayan. So in the 6th chapter, Prahlada teaches the boys about bhakti and tries to tell them to give up their attachment for house and body. So, Tanaha Karuno Maitra Iti Purvam Uktam. So we've already heard about Prahlad before in previous chapters, that he's Karuna, he's Maitra, he's kind, he's compassionate, he's a friend to others. So Prahlad is no ordinary person here. He's talking to people who are completely absorbed in materialistic way of life. An innocent child, he's telling them directly his wisdom that he got imbued in him from his birth through Narada Muni's grace. And so for him, he's already talking to them like an ancient sage, even though he's there amongst the demons. Just goes to show. And this is why the story of Prahlad was so popular amongst us, new devotees in the Western world when we first joined ISKCON. Right? The story of Nrsingadev. Why did they chant the names of Nrsingadev in ISKCON? Right? It's because of the idea that these children, that was us, and we were abandoning the materialistic society of the West. We were taking shelter of Krishna in the form of Nrsingadev. Well, Nrsinga is the form that we ascribe to Krishna when we are nervous about our protection. We need to be protected against the evil father, the father who wants to deny us devotion, who wants to deny us the ultimate purpose of human life, who wants us to engage in some material pursuit. And even Prahlad had the temerity to tell his father that, that I think that the best thing to do is to give up materialistic life. His father asked him, "What did you learn?" And so each time he asked him, "What did you learn?" Prahlad gave him a slap in the face. It wasn't very nice. And he said, "I learned that to leave aside materialistic life and go into the forest and serve Hari, that's the best thing to do." So that was not pleasing to his father. So his father got increasingly angry with him. And this was something that made him very angry, was that he was teaching the boys to worship God when his whole point is to be atheistic, right? Some kind of atheism. So Prahlad, who's Karuna, Maitra, even though he's a 5-year-old child, he is able to, actually children that age, very rare that you find that they're kind. They have to be taught Maitra, to be really good friends with other children. It's very, especially in our modern age perhaps. Anyway, so what did he say? He said, Komare dharman achare. One should take up the practices of dharma from childhood. Nanu komare varnasrama dharmanam anadhikaraha. Well, in that child, according to varnashram, there are no dharmas yet for a small child. Right? The small child doesn't have any role in society as varnashram dharma. Right? Now at the age of 5, all he has to do is be a baby, right? A kid. So that's the rule. So tatraha bhagavatan charanara vinda kirtanadin iha bharata bhumo. Aha. So he brings up bharata bhumi here. Bharata Bhumi Hailo Janma Manusya Janma Ja Jivana Sarthaka Kori Koro Porupaka. Well, that's what he's, that alluding to that. So those who have, being born in India, right, you should engage in the dharmas of worshipping Krishna's lotus feet, even from childhood, here in this Bharata Bhumi. Why not elsewhere also? Bharata Bhumi. Take the whole world to be Bharata Bhumi. So nanu tan yovanado api kritvarti bhavati. So can't we wait until we're a little bit older? Then we'll perform these dharmas, and we'll then fulfill our purpose of life. Kritarti bhavishyama. We will be fulfilled in this life. We will attain the purpose of life. So then he answers, tatraha pragya iti. Yadi ko maranteva mrityu syat tari kim bhavet iti prakrishta jnanavan. Tatraha pragya iti. So his answer to that, he's intelligent, he's wise, pragya. So the wise child, or the one who has guided by wise parents. So he's a pragya. So pragya yadi komaranta eva mrityu kasyat. What if you die when you're only 5 years old? Or before you're 5 years old, then what? Right? Then what happens to you? So that question, the answer is not good. Prakriti prakrishta jnanavan. Anyway, you don't want to die. You want to take the advantage of this opportunity that's given to you now. You don't want to waste your time. Right? So what's going on? What does he say next? So nanu tan yovanadu api kritva kritati bhavati. We just did that. So nanu tatra ka chinta janmantara tu bhavi. So you tell me that I'm going to have the one who really knows well. Prakrishta jnanavan. He knows what could happen after death. So he's not. So he wants to use this human form of life without wasting any time. But the other person says, well, what's your problem? Right? You can always, in the next lifetime, you can do it. Might be able to do it in bhakti. You can practice bhakti in your next lifetime. What's the difficulty? So he answers, Durlabham manusam janma. The human form of life is very hard to get a hold of. Tadapi bhagyata labdhamapi adruvam. And even if you get it by some good fortune, it's uncertain. Adya vartamanatvepi tasya swakstito nishchaya bhavat. Adya vartaman. Right now it's here, right? But tomorrow you don't really know if it's going to be there. So it's nishchaya bhavat. You can't be sure whether it'll be there tomorrow. So nanu tarhi atava tava matra kalena kuto bhakti siddhi. Tatraha arthadam muhurta matra vyapi bhakti matam api katwanga adinam siddhi darshanat. Right? So then if that's the case, well then, how can you do it? How can you get perfection in bhakti so quickly? It's impossible. Right? So later we'll also have the Dhruva story. Dhruva, Prahlad, these stories, these are the ones that where the child attains God. So he says here that in this human form of life is arthadang. It gives rewards, because even in a moment you can attain the Lord's lotus feet, as was in the example of Katvanga, Nama Rajashi, Yatve Ihayushaha, Muhurtat Sarvamutsija Gatavana Bhayam Harim. That Katvanga, when he knew he had only 48 minutes left, he immediately took shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, and he attained them. So Katvanga Adinam Siddhi Darshanat. So that's the proof. All right, so that's the beginning of Prahlad's teachings, and it goes on and on. Very interesting teachings, very, basically in this, along the lines of what we just said. So now, after explaining all the different problems that come by getting attached to a householder life and so on, not having control over one's senses, and being a total plaything of women, of the wife, or and so on, and that and so on. He's speaking very negatively about all the things, all the problems that arise in the materialistic life. So I won't get into all the details. You can go check them out. There's probably a shibir that could be done. Okay, so we go to 17. Our verse is 18. So this is the verse that's immediately in front of it. Okay, so now he's come to the end. So this is a new thing now. He's going to say, this is the conclusion, really, of that whole big, long speech he's given about why it's so important to start young and dedicate yourself to spiritual life right away, because it's an urgent matter. Attaining this human form of life was not just anything. It came after a long wait. So make use of it, right? So now he's been saying all that, so now he's come to the end. So what to do? Yato nakaschit kochakutrachit va dina swamatma namalam samartha vimochitum kamadrishang vihara krira mrigoyan nigaro visarga. So basically it's summarizing the position of a person who's bound in family life, right? Yato nakaschit kochakutrachit va dinaha swamatmanam alam samartha vimochitum. So there's no one, anywhere, at any time, one of these unfortunate souls who's bound in the pettiness of materialistic life, that he is capable of freeing himself from this bondage. Kama drishang vihara krira mrigo yan nigaro visargaha. So he is the plaything, the krira mrigaha, for the pleasures of the beautiful women. Kama drishang, those who, the kama drisham, the eyes of desire. They cannot free themselves. All the products of that relationship also are like bonds, they're like chains that tie you to the material world. How can you escape? It's impossible. Aha. So this is the situation for people who are not devotees, for who haven't figured out how to live their human form of life intelligently. That's the situation they find themselves in. Riding waves of ups and downs according to their karma. One day you have $1 trillion, then you die. Where are you next? Well, don't worry, he won't worry about that. Here and now, that's what counts. Sure. if that's what you think. Anyway, so he says, Tasmad Kumara eva Bhagavatan dharman acharet iti sahetukam upasangharati yataha iti. All right, so after, this is for these 16 verses, he's been talking about Bhagavatan dharman, that you should acharet, Kumara acharet. He's been explaining that verse. He's been expanding on that verse. So now this is the conclusion. Upasanghar. Yataha kaschit api swamatmanam mochitam nasamartaha. So because no one is able to liberate themselves, their own self, tato narayanam upeta sharanam yata iti utarinanvayaha. So therefore, you should go and take shelter of Narayanam, which is the next verse, right? So that's the Narayanam upeta, that's in our verse, and that was from in the Priti Sandarbha. So these two verses go together; they fit together. One is a previous state, and one is a past, afterward state, before and after. So because the situation is, you have to know that no one can liberate themselves, right, by any effort of their own. This is one of the great, interesting contradictions or paradoxes. One has to be active and one has to continue making the effort, but all in the while knowing that your efforts are not directly connected with the results. It's only that smaranadi shuddha chitte koraye uday. That's what happens. The Narayan appears to you when your heart is purified. This is going to be the big subject in number 7. So I'll leave it aside now. So Narayana Upeta, take shelter of Narayana. That's the second, it has to be taken with the next verse. So asamartye hetuho alam dino lampataha. So he says, why are you not able to take shelter? What's the problem here? Why are you not asamartha? Why you can't liberate yourself by yourself? He says, because you're dinaha, you're lamparta, because you're only interested in, you're a sinner. That's what it means. You're a sinner. Okay. Well, you are, right? We're always making mistakes. We can call those sins. We feel guilty or shame because of the mistakes that we make, which results in suffering for ourselves and for others. So that's a kind of, life is filled with regrets. So you get to my age, and the whole day long you're just thinking of all the offenses that you committed. And you can't think of Radha and Krishna. All right, so anyhow, dinaha, you're an unfortunate person. Get with it. You're engaging in activities that are not pleasing to God. Let's get with it. Try to understand this situation. You think you're being smart. You think you're being independent. And you're engaged in activities that are not pleasing to God. Well, I'm not going to tell you what they are. You know what they are. All right. So ataha, because you're a materialistic person, so what happens? Kamo drishi yasam. So those who have desire in their eyes, tasang vihare, in playful acts or in engagement with them, in your leelas with those kama drisham, those beautiful women with come hither eyes. You become, for their sake, you become their plaything. You become their plaything. You have no freedom. So just give up the idea of being free. I remember once they showed a video. There was what was it? It was a program about world religions. It was a good program. I forget now what it was. I think it was British. But anyway, they showed a man from a well-to-do family in Bangalore or somewhere, and he wanted to take sannyas. So he told his whole family that he was going to take sannyas. And he was an educated man, an intelligent man, and I think he'd been a newspaper person. So he went to Benares, and he went around looking and trying to get someone to give him sannyas and so on. And it went on. It was a saga. It was like a soap opera. a reality show about the man who was taking it, and his family obviously did not want him to go. That was 100% clear. He was putting off, and they kept on holding him in. And finally he went away, and he was there in Benares, and he was ready to take sannyas, and then suddenly he found himself back in the family home again in Bangalore. So it ain't easy, right? If you're going to take that particular way of doing it, because you become a plaything in the hands of the family, your family loyalties, your responsibilities to your family, your wish to see everybody progress and achieve something meaningful in life, right? Well, you want them to be devotees and teach them about bhakti. So here there's another reading where it says not vihara krida mrigo as one compound. It says vihara krida mrigaha. Okay, so I'll just say, so the viharam to pritak pati, so if you read it as a separate word and not as part of the compound, then tasya tasang vihara sadhanam atmanam. So then your soul, I think here's a good way to put soul, your soul becomes their means of enjoying life. That is through you. You're going to bring them money, you're going to bring them gifts, you're going to bring them things in some way or another. This is a very nice negative picture, right? Of a human couple. Well, for the non-devotee human couple, this is basically the story, I would say. So, yatastasam kriramrigaha sa iti anvayaha. So why are they, you are the means, just like a toy poodle, like a pet dog, a pet animal. The pet animal is there only for the pleasure of the mistress. Like that. So the emasculation, this is what it's talking about. You become emasculated. You lose your independence. You lose your freedom of thought. You lose your freedom of action. And you become subservient to selfish people, kama drishi, those who see everything with a view to fulfilling their own desires. Not a good situation, obviously, right? So, kincha yadyasu niragara shrinkala tulyo visargaha putra potradi rupo bhavati. So, also that they are as a result of them, arriving from them, is the nigara, the chain, the shackles that are the visarga. The visarga means the offspring, the sons and grandsons and so on. So that's the life. The family expands and the attachment expands, and one just wants to see what happens the next day. That's all. One just wants to go on seeing what happens the next day. So, shall we do Vishwanath? Yeah, it's a short one. We'll just do Vishwanath, then we'll go back to the verse we started with, and that's what we'll end with. All right, so yata kutubat kvapi deshe kutrachidapi kale samartha shastra jnanadi samartyavanapi kaschidapi atmanam swiyangva vimochayitum alam na shaknoti viharam iti pate atmanam ityasya visheshanam samasa pate kartri visheshanam yaha kamadishay vanigaro yatra tathavidak sargo janma bhave. Okay, well, I'll just give it rough. He's saying at no place, at no time was even the people who are knowers of the Shastra easily able to liberate their own self from the material world. Alam nashaknoti. They don't know. They cannot do it. Alam is sometimes used to mean inability. So viharam iti pate atmanam ityasya shevam. So if you read viharam then it's an adjective describing the self, right? So the self becomes the playground for these women with desirous eyes. And if it's a samasa, if you read it together, vihara, vihara krida mriga, and then it becomes a kartri. So it becomes the women are the ones who are making the pet dance, right? Sit up and so on. Okay, well, that's a very nice negative picture. So because these women, they are, so he reads it a little differently. The women are the chain because from them, this kind of another birth will have to take place. So tato vidurat pairitya daityeshu sangam vishayatmakeshu upeta narayanamadi devam samukta sanga rishito pavargam. All right, so from far away, oh Daityas, give up the association of these demoniac people who are so attached to the sense pleasures, sense gratification, right? That's all that they think about. So take shelter of Narayan, who is the Adi Devam. He is the liberation that is desired by those who are truly free of all attachments. Okay, so that's where you want to go. Take shelter of Narayana, because that's where the ones who are in the know, that's where they go to take shelter. So there's not so much commentary here, but we already read the commentary from Priti Sandarbha. And so there's really nothing else to say because the commentary of Sridhar. So I'll just repeat that commentary again. So Atha Sri Bhagavat-sakshatkarasya muktitvam aha tato viduraditi tikacha yasmatsa eva apavarga ishtaha. So therefore the Bhagavat-sakshatkara is mukti. Liberation means to see Bhagavan. So therefore, that is being shown in this verse. And what is the part that we want to particularly pay attention to? Yasmat saeva apavargaha ishtaha. He is the liberation that is desired by whom? By the mukta sanghas, the ones who are really free of all attachments to anything material. So you're attached. But if you take shelter of Narayana, then you know that you're going to the right place, the place where you'll find freedom. And that freedom is where? Because these sages who are in the knowledge, who are free from all attachment to anything material, they know. For them, the desired liberation is to come into the vision, to come into the sight of Narayana, to see Krishna, to see God, to see Bhagavan. Right? And why is that? So he says, Narayanasya apavargatvam, because when you say that Narayana is the liberation that is sought for by the liberated souls. So the words used, mukta sangha, freed from all attachments, we're saying, but that's their liberation, that's their apavarga. That's their freedom from bondage. That's their complete renunciation. Right? So that to say that that Narayan is liberation, it means that one sees him, that one comes into contact with him, that one has direct aparokshanubhuti, or even more, as we'll see, that there's external sakshatkar, there's internal sakshatkar. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about either one of those. But if you have sakshatkara, to see Narayan means really that you're seeing him. To say that Narayan is liberation means to see Narayan is liberation, right? And to really see him. So why is that? Because that seeing of him is of the form of supreme bliss after the destruction of material conditions. And so that's the definition of liberation. And that tadastitva matratve tadrishatva bhavat cha. And simply by his existence, that doesn't happen. So it's something about the relationship that matters. And that relationship is the relationship of Priti. So just see how Jiva has built the logic. I didn't really like to have this fifth. I thought that all the stuff that we were doing earlier in the fifth Anuched should belong with the fourth. I would just as soon have joined it to the fourth and let this verse stand by itself here. Because it's like this is really the essence of what he was getting. Well, he was what he's getting at, but in the previous, let him finish his thought in the relationship with the teachings about Brahma-sakshatkara, all those things from the Vishnu Purana. And anyhow, after all that Brahma-sakshatkara, so the Jiva is different from Brahman, and that he has the Yam Labdva, by attaining him he attains bliss. He is liberation. All those things were said about Brahma in a general way, in a general description of God's sort of minimum requirements of Godness, which is just pure existence, right? Sat Chit Ananda, the minimum requirement that we would say for a proof of God is that he exists, yeah? So the answer is existence exists, therefore God exists. That's the argument. So it's an unbreakable argument because you're defining God as existence. Now then from there you have to start, then you make your logical steps take place from there. But God's merely being existence, this is a very low level, let's say, of understanding. It's correct. It is the absolute correct answer. But there's also Chit, and there's also Ananda. So we have to realize the fullness of Chit, and we have to realize the fullness of Ananda. So therefore he says here, to encounter Brahman, a separate entity from the Jiva, in order to get Ananda, through the false assumption that one is lost and is fully identified with Brahma. Here one doesn't have a false assumption because one actually is a real conscious, separate living entity whose existence is purely to serve God. Okay, so that's the end of that. And I wonder, I'll have a look at that. I did an Arti video, but I don't know how it's working out. And I really don't know how this is going to work out either because the light is not that great. But I thought, let's give it a try. Jai Jai Sri Radhe, Jai Jai Sri Radhe, Jai Jai Sri Radhe Shyam.